Yeah, so Montana Knife Company has an absolutely wild story. I mean, to the point where we're actually trying to appropriately film an actual documentary around it, especially with the phase of growth that we're in right now. It's just a
Welcome to the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast. Today I'm excited to have Brandon Haraho on the show. Now, Brandon was introduced to me by my good friend Kurt Elster from the Unofficial Shopify podcast. He is the co-founder of Montana Knife Company, an eight-figure e-commerce store where all products are made in the USA. The company was 100% D2C from day one. I don't believe they're on Amazon at all, and they are killing it in the space. And I wanted to have Brandon on for two reasons today. One, I want to talk about the challenges of made in the USA. And two, I want to talk about how he scaled his business to eight figures 100% with Shopify. And with that, welcome to the show, Brandon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on the show. And it's cool to connect through our mutual friend Kurt. He's been a longtime friend, and he's actually helped our brand a ton too on the e-commerce side. So when he reached out, he was like, "Hey, I got a guy who has an awesome podcast." I was like, "Count me in." And I listened to a bunch, getting ready for this podcast, and it's like this is spot on with like what we've been building and how we built this and everything.
Awesome. And if you guys like Montana Knife Company's website, Kurt Elster actually designed it over at EtherCycle. Just giving
Yep.
Kurt a little plug there.
Yep.
So, Brandon, I know you're the co-founder of the company, but you're not like the main guy, like the face of the company. But what is the story behind Montana Knife Company?
Yeah, so Montana Knife Company has an absolutely wild story. I mean, to the point where we're actually trying to appropriately film an actual documentary around it, especially with the phase of growth that we're in right now. It's just a really cool time to actually film something as like things are going on. But to kind of give you like the quick story is, this company, started with Josh Smith. He actually started making knives at the age of 11. And then he became the youngest master bladesmith ever in the history of master bladesmith, and he achieved that level at the age of 19. And he's had that title for almost like 20 something years, and no one's been able to become a master bladesmith at a younger age. And some people have tried and failed, but Josh is a true craftsman, a true artist, and he is just obsessed with making the best knives. So, he started as a really, really high end knife maker. I mean, literally the show like Forged in Fire is based off of like what Josh has been doing, but he was doing it 20 years before the show. Josh is actually, I think, on season 1 and 2 too. So they just to understand like how he's kind of like in this ether of, knife making community and all that. And then, so that was, his teens, and then in his 20s and 30s, he became, actually one of the best knife makers, in the world. He was really known for like his high end Damascus work. But the problem is that all the knives he was making, they were like expensive pieces of art. Like people, when they commission a knife from him, they're like, I want a $15,000 dagger, or I want like a $30,000 sword. Right. He has stories of him, making knives for like sheiks in like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and like going into getting flown over to the London archives and looking at all these like historical swords and building replicas and all that. But at his core roots, he was born in Lincoln, Montana. And, he's been a hunter since day one. But he's always made the best hunting knives. But the problem is that for him to make a hunting knife for somebody, just to justify time and material and all this stuff, he had to charge like $3,000 for it. Yeah. Or even on the very lowest end, a couple like $1,000, $1,500. And then the problem is like people weren't using them. They would buy them and they weren't being used. And the reason why they weren't using them is because like the price, and they were just so beautiful. And it's, so his thing was like, I make the best using hunting knife, on the market. There's no question. I've made thousands of knives in my life. I can distill this down to this one knife that every hunter can take on any hunt anywhere in the world. But I've got to figure out how to do it in mass and get that cost down so people actually use them. These aren't meant to be collector's items. Like we want people to use these in the field. And one of our early sayings was, used, abused, and passed down. That's the goal. We want that knife to be used, and we want you to pass it down for generations. So like that's kind of like the backstory and where Montana Knife Company was born. And a couple really cool things happened is that, his mom and him had like the foresight to actually go and register the trademark name Montana Knife Company and buy the URL in like 2000,
Oh,
which
wow.
is just
Okay. Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. So when I came on board, I had to go find this, URL that was owned by some little web agency in Montana, which you can understand was hard to track down and find and get it linked to our Shopify site and all that. So that's like kind of like the prequel to like what true MKC is right now. And then,
Okay.
we launched the brand in 2020. And I'm
Right
talking
before COVID,
height
right?
like
Yeah.
height of COVID.
Okay.
Like the
Yeah.
first time, the first time Josh and I met was like almost like right before the lockdowns, like the countrywide lockdowns. And we're like,
Right.
it was like, yeah, well, should we start this? Or like, well, might as well, because he always says like in 2008, he kind of listened to the news and all this stuff, and like he actually stopped being a full-time professional knife maker when the economy crashed in 2008. Because you could probably understand like the budget for a $15,000 knife kind of shrunk on most people's,
Sure. Of
P&Ls.
course.
So he actually became a lineman for 10 or 15 years, making really good money. And then, but this has just always been kind of like eating out. I'm like, I need to do this Montana Knife Company thing. But then, his thing was like, I just don't have the marketing guy or like the business guy, to set up the business and the back end and the funnels and like just the advertising and creative. And that's where like Josh and I met. And it's like the rocket fuel, we got the product, we got marketing,
Yes.
and that's where it started.
Okay. Okay. So,
Yep.
what's funny here is I have a couple colleagues that sell blades, not knives per se, and they get all their
Mhm.
stuff from China. And maybe it'd be heresy, I guess, if Josh did that. But China seems to be significantly cheaper. The labor
Mhm.
costs are 4x lower, and then even like the steel costs, I think, are 15 to 40% cheaper in China.
Mhm.
So, and I know cost is like a big factor here. Can you just kind of comment on some of the challenges of USA manufacturing, and why did you guys decide to focus on made in the USA?
No, that's a great question. And here's the thing: is like when we started this company, it used to be easy to say that like, oh, Chinese knives are cheap and they're not that good and like all that stuff. The truth is that knives coming out of China, knives coming out of Pakistan, Taiwan, like some of them were awesome. They were great knives. They were very well manufactured. It took them, they had 20, 30, 40 years competing with some of the American brands, to refine their stuff. So we couldn't say that like it's a superior product. We do think now we are a superior product, but at the time, like, there were still good products coming out of China. But you're right, it's cheaper, and you can just, you can order 100, you can order 10,000, you can order 100,000, and they just show up in 6 months.
Yeah.
Um, but our biggest thing is that like, we're watching this, thing happen during COVID. We're watching, supply chains get shut off. We're watching all these things happen. And we're just like, if we're going to do this, let's do this the right way. And honestly, American manufacturing has been always true to my heart. It's always been true to Josh's heart. So
Sure.
it was just in our ethos to want to do it, especially with him being an actual maker. And the other thing is too, is that, so many things went right for MKC. One of the other things that went really right for MKC is that the entire knife market, I'm talking every company in the early like teens and early 2020s, like everyone was trying to race to the bottom of the barrel and make the cheapest knife possible so they can just go sell it at Cabela's in a bubble blister pack for
Yeah.
$20, and then like it dulls and you just kind of like huck it in your center console or you put it in your closet, and then you just go buy a new one because it's not worth the resharpening. um, and that was just kind of like the mentality of the industry. And then we came in and we're like, no, like there's not a lot of things that men pass down anymore, from father to son to grandson. It's usually just like, a watch, maybe some firearms, and like the knives. Like no one's going to want your iPhone 13. Like my kids aren't going to want my Apple Watch. My kids aren't going to want the iPad. They're like, no, that I can't even open the iOS now. It's 2050. So
Yeah.
so these things that we carry on our body, it's different than what men used to carry on their body in, the early 1900s and the 1500s, early like the 1950s, like, watches and knives and wallets and things like that. So, like I said, there's a lot of things that just kind of like we're like, it's all just focusing on making the best product possible. And
Right.
for us, that was making it ourselves.
Would you say Josh is famous in this niche, or even before when you guys first started? Like, do people
Absolutely. Yeah.
buy the
No.
knives for him or
You know what's wild, like at the very beginning, I would definitely say like our first, like, 100 customers were definitely fans of Josh and
okay.
knew his pedigree and things like that. What's wild now is like it's crazy because like there's times where we're like, oh, I didn't even know who Josh Smith was, but I own like 5 knives. It's just because like the brand itself is just getting so
Okay.
big.
Okay. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know anything about knives, but I do know that
Hmm.
it's pretty competitive. So you mentioned like these knives are heirloom quality, right?
Hmm.
But when you're first starting out and you're marketing, like, can we talk about how you guys got your first sales? Like, how does one
Yeah.
scale a knife company? It's a very competitive niche.
Yeah, so it's very competitive, and also too, like it's probably the oldest. I have a buddy that owns a seasoning company, and
Uh-huh.
I always joke that him and I are in the oldest trades possible: sharp objects and seasonings. Like it
Right.
doesn't get much older than that. So like, there's a lot of companies. I mean, if you can just think of USA made companies, a lot of those guys have 120 years on us. A lot of them have 70, 80 years on us. They have government contracts. They've perfected their manufacturing through mass quantities. I mean, we didn't know how to do anything in 2020. So like that's where it's just like, so we're like it's just not like American made. Like we also had to figure out how to manufacture ourselves, and like that's what we're doing. Like you might even hear the CNC machines like downstairs buzzing right
Yeah.
now. So it's again like it's not like we're placing an order with another factory and just hoping those knives come and we sell them. I mean, we're literally making them. And like our first drop, like our first real drop, we like, I was like, hey, we'll probably sell like 25, 30. We ended up selling all 150 that we had cut ready to make. And literally the next day when we were packaging them, I had to go to Staples and get a printer to hook up to Shopify to print labels. Josh is in the other room, literally sharpening knives. His wife is helping us package them. And like, so like I said, like it's not just like building an ecom brand
Right.
and doing drop shipping. It's like, oh, we have to make this product, and that it adds a whole nother layer of complexity that like because we have 90 people in our company, and like 65 of them on the manufacturing side. There's only 15 people on like the accounting and CFO and
Right.
growth, and so yeah.
So when you first launched, were you guys just running it out of the house or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was Josh's 2-car garage and then my bedroom. I actually
That's
lived
awesome.
2 hours. Yeah, I actually lived 2 hours north. I was shooting all the product photography in my garage. I was going, and that's the beautiful thing about us living in Montana is like I could just go walk out in the woods. I got the best
Yeah.
landscape in the world. So, and I still want to answer your question, like how do we get those first like couple sales?
Yeah.
Like obviously like Josh, he kind of had his connections. I've been in, the marketing e-com space for, almost 15, 18 years at that point. I had a bunch of connections and we literally just relied so hard on our network for that first couple, sales, and then what we did is we just focused on two things. We focused on just Instagram growth because at that time that worked out really well for us. TikTok
Okay.
wasn't really around, so we put a lot of focus on Instagram. And I've been a photographer for 10 years, so I had like terabytes of all this beautiful Montana landscapes and like all this stuff. So I end up dumping my catalog on there just to start getting followers and things like that. Well, because we didn't really have knives because we're still making them. So
Right.
like we couldn't even like talk about the product. We had nothing to sell for the first 3 months because we had to make the knives. So there's a lot of like, kind of, just like preloading that funnel before that first drop. It was almost like doing a Kickstarter without actually taking pre-orders.
Okay. Hey, just a quick heads up. Tickets for my annual e-commerce conference, the Seller Summit, are now on sale over at sellersummit.com. If you run an e-commerce business selling physical products, this event was built for you. Unlike typical events filled with broad advice and feel-good stories, the Seller Summit is all about real strategies you can actually use. Every speaker I invite is deep in the trenches, running their own store and dealing with the same challenges you face every single day. Now, we keep the event intentionally small, just 200 people, so it stays intimate, and you actually get time to connect, ask questions, and have meaningful conversations. I've sold out every single year for the past 9 years. And if your store is already doing over $250K or $1 million in revenue, we also run a private mastermind with other top sellers in the space. You can learn more and grab your ticket over at sellersummit.com. Now back to the show. So you built up an
Mhm.
Instagram account and then you use that to
Mhm.
launch. I know you guys have a pretty cool model, and I definitely want to hear about it, where you literally drop new knives every single week, right?
Right.
Or something crazy like
So,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and the drop model is wild. So, I spent 5 or 6 years in the apparel industry. That company did a lot of drop models and stuff like that. But this is like totally different because it's the same model, but there's like everyone's like, oh yeah, Montana Knife Company is just good at like doing manufactured scarcity. Like they're just manufacturing scarcity and they're like dropping 5 knives and like, no. I mean, literally, so we have our largest drop tonight. We're dropping thousands of knives. And I can tell you right now, I went downstairs and the entire shop is buzzing right now because they are way behind. And like we can only drop on the website what we can ship tomorrow. That's always our commitment. So as many knives as they get built this week is how many knives get launched on Thursday night. And that's always been our model. So from day one, Josh and I put all this stuff on credit cards. We bought that first batch, of raw steel. We turned them into knives. We got them assembled, sharpened, clean sheath packaged. And then, I remember it just like it was yesterday. It was December 18th of 2020. We launched the first, Speed Goat, and we sold them all out in like 14 minutes. And we're like, oh, and then it's like we don't have anything. We literally don't have knives. Like we don't have anything else to continue this business. and we can't call someone to make them because no one else knows how to make them. So we rushed, ordered more steel. We got them through the pipeline, and I think we had another drop like within like a month and a half. But so like that's what started creating this like drop model like naturally, because like so now I had 6 weeks as a marketer. I had 6 weeks, and I made a commitment to post on Instagram every single day, and send out emails and stuff like that. So I had 6 weeks where I couldn't actually convert a sale. So, I started pulling on some of my older, backgrounds, and I started coming up with apparel for the brand. I even launched in this time, I even launched a Montana Knife Company, coffee, you know, like coffee, because I went to like the local roaster. I was like, hey, I need something to sell. So like, can we make a Montana coffee? And they, we just white labeled some coffee, and we, did a drop for that in between the knife things. But like that continued on for 3 or 4 years, where it's just like, we sold them, we bought more, sold them, and we kept on expecting to never not sell out. We're like, our goal is to be in stock. We want to be a mass knife company. Like we don't want to be a drop model company. Like that's not our thing. But we just kept on selling out, and we just kept on ordering more and ordering more. So when you're talking about bootstrapping, I mean, like we literally just sold it, bought more, sold it, bought more. And then we started getting into a little bit of a cadence of like, all right, let's order in between drops so we have more frequent drops. So yeah.
So for the audience who doesn't know what the drop model is, it's basically you make a set of knives, and then once they're sold, that's it, right? For
Mhm.
that
Right.
edition. And then so
Yeah.
that for that first drop, you relied on connections to get those sales. But you can only
Mhm.
rely on like your audience and your connections so long. So by then, was the word of mouth good enough for subsequent drops, or had the Instagram account and everything caught on and all the other
Yeah.
marketing?
So no, this is a great question, and I love these questions because it helps me like kind of like go back in time and think about like what worked and why it worked and stuff like that. And so before Montana Knife Company, I owned my own agency, and I specialized in linking Klaviyo and Shopify accounts. So if you're a big Shopify account that had Klaviyo,
Yep.
I'd come in, clean things up, help you with your campaigns, help you with your flows, things like that. And it was really successful at the time. But it was cool because I got to go look in the back end of like 20 different companies and see what they're doing, see what they're doing wrong, and see what they're doing wrong. So I got to build MKC's like email list from scratch. And I'm talking, I built it like, and it was just so, I was just so obsessed with building the highest quality engaged list possible. And that's what we did. So like, for those first like 6 months, a year, the main thing I focused on was email. Like I used to tell Josh, I don't care if your grandma buys a knife. She has to do it through her Shopify website, and I want her email. So just being really strict about that, because with us being in the knife industry, we couldn't figure out how to do paid advertising until about year 3 or 4, because everything was so restricted, because everyone considered us a weapon, because
Mm,
they
that's
just
right.
they just
Yeah.
lumped everything that's hunting into weapons. And I've had calls with Google Ethics and Meta and all this stuff, and they're just like, it's a slippery slope. We let you go. It lets the door open for
Right.
other companies. And we're like, I understand. But it also kind of keeps people out of our field too, because like you can't just rely on paid ads.
Right.
And it's something I've never relied on for building this company. It's just gasoline on top of our organic.
Right. Okay. So email list. How did you get people on your list in the beginning? It's hard to get people
So
from Instagram onto your list, right?
it is. It definitely is. So I mean, and that's where like the drop model thing kind of worked. It was just like, if you want this knife, sign up for an email. Like
Okay.
simple as that. Like we've never done a discount for an email. I've played all those, like, I've done all of those different things, like, build an ebook and,
Yeah.
exchange that for their email. And like those things work. Those things are great. But we had a certain type of energy at the beginning of the company where people wanted our knives so bad. They were willing to give up their email and text message first time they visited the site to get this knife because they
Yeah.
saw them sell out. And in the knife industry, it was absolutely wild for someone to do drops without pre-orders. I mean, we had some of the CEOs of the biggest companies in this industry being like, "You guys are crazy. If you just took pre-orders, you can leverage that pre-order database and go get banknotes at a cheaper rate and like
Yeah.
all this stuff." And we're like, no, we are not going to take anyone's money that we can't ship the product the next day. And I'm talking since day one, I bet you 99% of all knives have shipped the next day. And the reason is that, but then also two is like, we were still learning how to do this manufacturing thing too. So we didn't want to take someone's money and promise them like, you'll have a knife in 3 months and that batch come in wrong or get lost, in between heat treat and blade grind, or like there's all these like, there's a bunch of risk involved with that. And
Yeah.
we just never wanted to take someone's money that we couldn't give them the product the next day. And so, like I said, there's a lot of, we really went against a lot of norms in a very, very old industry. And and like I said, it just worked out for us.
Interesting. Walk me through, like you said you have a big drop coming. Walk me through
Mm-hmm.
the preparation leading up to the drop to make it the most successful drop ever.
Yeah. So this drop is fun. So this is our Blaze Friday.
Okay.
And so what Blaze Friday is like when I'm setting up our marketing plan and everything like this, I obsess about repeatable successes. So like that's why we do a drop every Thursday, and then we actually started adding in stock drops on Saturday. So we're almost doing like 100 drops a year just for knives. And we're also dropping a piece of apparel every single Tuesday and now Friday. So we're dropping 2 pieces of apparel a week plus 2 knife drops. But then to make it different, so if you pull back and you look at your full year marketing plan, everyone's so focused on Q4. Everyone's so focused on
Yeah.
Black Friday. And and that's I've been through like 18 Black Friday cycles for D2C e-com. So like I know the playbook, I know what's going on. And then like and I'm just starting to realize it's like, especially with Montana Knife Company, our customers aren't buying because it's Black Friday. They're buying because we're putting all this freaking energy into it.
Yeah.
And like, like we're throwing everything at the wall. We're coming out with new products just for Black Friday. And I'm like, well, why can't we do this in Q2 or Q1, like when we're, traffic's a little lighter on Q2. So what we started doing is like doing a Black Friday event every single quarter. So it's the same playbook as Black Friday, but we're doing it on August, 14th. And in the 2-month lead up to it, just like you would start in October, Facebook ads, email captures. And then the thing is too, is like we talk to our customers and we're like, what do you guys want? They're like, we love the Blaze knives. So we made that a big event. So all of our knives that drop tonight are Blaze orange. So so when you're answering that question, like there's different types of drops we do. And the ethos of the company is this: just put in more effort than anyone in this industry has ever done before. So when we restock a knife, we actually act like we're relaunching that as a product launch. Like we go through the whole thing like a brand would. What most brands put in effort of launching a product, when a knife restocks, that's how much effort we put into it. And when we launch a new product, we honestly act like we're almost relaunching our brand from scratch. Like, so
Right.
it's just about the effort that's being put out there, because like, again, like, only up until about a year and a half ago, we were able to run paid ads. So the excitement had to come from us, from the inside of the business. So
Does this mean that the knives, once they sell out, you don't sell them again, but occasionally you'll bring them back, but then you relaunch them in a drop? Is that how it works?
Well, no, not actually. So this is another thing that is so wild about our company, so opposite of the industry. There's a lot of other knife companies that do drops now, but what they do is they'll come out and they'll drop like 30 super custom knives that are all different, and they're like, this is the only time you get this. MKC is the complete opposite. We have our 20 different models, and we rotate them, and they're always in the same 6 colors. Like, I'm obsessed with like our branding. Like, when someone sees our knife hanging on a hunting pack, I want that person to be immediately like, oh, that's a Montana Knife Company knife. And you
Okay.
can't do that with all this like crazy customization. And I think that's where the knife world got a little crazy, was just like people were just so obsessed with trying to look like a custom knife company. And it would have been easy for us to do that with Josh's pedigree. Like, oh, he's designing these custom
Yeah.
knives, and everything's different and everyone's individual. But it's more of like the Rolex model. It's like, oh, he has a Blackfoot. That Blackfoot is kind of like the equivalent of like the Submariner. Like, oh, he has a Stonewall. That's like a Daytona. And it's like they don't change. And there's like slight variations as we like grow, but like they're not like blatant variations where like we're going to come out with pink handles, or we're going to put jade in it, or stuff like that. But then when we do an event like this orange knives, like
Yeah.
it's like people, like, it's insane, because it's like this is the only time you get it, but we only do that like 4 or 5 times a year.
I see. So you have your staples that are always available on your site, but
Hmm.
you do drops every single week, and those are variations of those, or
So yeah, so like, I mean, like right now I think we have like 28 different models. So I mean, like, if you think about it, like, like we're just going to make, like, for example, like, okay, we're going to do chef cleavers this week. Downstairs they're just making as many chef cleavers as we can finish in that week, and that's all we focus on marketing wise. We sell those sell out, and then like next week we're going to focus on you know a
uh,
large skinning knife for hunting, and
okay,
those knives just like rotate, and it's like, so there's no reason to really like do like I said, down the pipeline, like we'll probably have to start doing some crazy custom stuff. And like you're seeing Yeti now. Like, Yeti's been selling the same cooler for 15 years, and now they have to sell it in like daylight green, and they have to sell it in
right.
lavender this, and match this persona. And they go after, duck hunters in the South want this camo. And like that's probably like a part of our evolution. But as of right now, it's just about like, my biggest thing is just getting as many new people into our brand
Got
as
it.
humanly possible, just to buy our basic products.
So I think I understand now. So you have scarcity because those cleavers that you mentioned, I'll have to wait for the next cycle of manufacturing to get my hands on those, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So it's
I
like
like
either
it.
buy them
Okay.
now, or, it might be another year. It might be
Right.
6 months. It might be 3 months. Yeah.
So you mentioned at the beginning of this interview, though, that you don't want to sell out, right?
Right.
So how do you determine the quantities? I mean, you could just make a lot more and not sell out, right? Or do they
No.
just sell out?
Yeah. And that's also the balance, like, with our, with the current building in right now is around 10,000 square feet. Like, there is a manufacturing limit.
Uh,
Like there's an actual limit. So we have to, like, okay, what are our drop knives? What are in stock knives? And like, we have to have that balance of, like what knives. Our goal is to make as many knives as we can possibly think and sell, but there is like a give and take that we have to account for. And so like, there's like 5 products right now on our website, that are, in stock, that we're trying to keep in stock at all times. And those are like what we call like our annuities, like the Blackfoot, the Speed Goat, the Stonewall, and a couple of our mini blades. And so our goal was like, just get as many of those out into the public as possible, so that our current funnel is saturated with those knives,
mhm.
so that they're just not selling out. Because like, if a new customer comes to our website, they have nothing to buy, I have nothing to convert them.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So the idea is just like, okay, just almost get these guys sick of hearing about Blackfoots. Like, they've had enough. And now, so when a new customer comes in, they're like, oh, there's a Blackfoot available. Cool. I'm going to buy that. Or my dad's birthday's coming
I
up,
like
I
it.
need a
Okay.
gift. So it's, like I said, there's a lot of things we're doing that not a lot of companies get the chance to do, because they're either omni-channel through wholesale, where like, oh, it's not on your website, but I can just go to Amazon, or I'll go to
Yeah.
Cabela's, or I'll go to there, so we get to, control that narrative a little bit more.
So you don't do any wholesale. Is that correct?
But that's correct. Like we do a couple, like we have a couple stores in very select towns. Like, there's a small store in Jackson Hole right next to the Antler Arch. It's more about like foot traffic advertising than it is like needle mover. And
Okay.
it's literally then like less than a 0.5%, maybe even less than that, versus our competitors that are 60-70% wholesale.
Right. So it seems like you are selling at the capacity that you can make these knives right now. So there's really no reason for you to go wholesale. Is that accurate?
Right, right. And the goal down the road is like we want to be able to that point where we are wholesale. But even if, Cabela's came to us and I mean we have big box stores knocking on our door all the time and say like,
Yeah.
hey, we need, 60,000 knives for 2027 or 2026. We're like, is that worth cutting down on our capacity to D2C to supply wholesale? But
Yeah.
we want to do wholesale down the road because there are people who are not buying online, especially our knives, the older generations and things like that. Like they want to see it, they want to feel it, they want to buy it from like their local shop. Like we are missing out on that. Like, and we see that and we know that. But it's just something that we just have to have the like responsibility of just like understanding that's an opportunity that's just down the road.
Sure. You know what's
Mhm.
funny is I looked on Amazon for Montana Knife Company right before this interview.
Yeah,
Ton of people search for it
I know.
on Amazon, but
Yeah.
and so I guess like if you had the capacity, would you guys be on Amazon, or is Amazon something that's not in the cards?
No, so Amazon's fun because like I actually hired someone who was on our marketing team was specifically hired for us to onboard on Amazon,
Oh,
and
okay.
we hired him 3 years ago. So we still haven't. But I mean,
Right.
he's also an amazing marketer too. That like helps us with all of our D2C and like all that stuff. And then also too, our COO Andrew, we actually poached him from Amazon. So
Okay.
he was in charge of the entire Spokane like packaging and shipping fulfillment thing. So we have the full system. We
Right.
have the dude that knows, because like a lot of companies where they fail Amazon is like, the shipping and the packaging and like getting all the, everything right the first time. So we have all the right components for it. We're just waiting for the right time, in our life cycle to actually onboard that. But it's something I'm super interested in. And like, yeah,
So yeah, that makes sense. It's not really compatible with the drop model, I guess. It would have to be your
right.
staples, right?
It would be, yeah, yeah, and I think and there's a lot of brands that do that, where there's just like their core products are on there that are on their website, and then the idea is to kind of get them to bite on that one product. The product is so good they come back and they want another one, but it's not on Amazon, so they have to go to their their homepage.
So because these knives are what I call, I guess, heirloom knives, do people buy a bunch of them?
Yeah, so like that's the wildest thing is like our return rate is absolutely insane to where it was actual metric for me to decrease our return rate
Okay.
for which is very untypical for a lot of companies, but it was like how do I get new people into our funnel? So we have a lot of people buy them, we have a lot of people that collect them. We have a very very ravage like Facebook group that buys, sells, trades our knives. It's really cool to watch, and they're some of the best dudes ever. And we use them, and like we're in that group all the time, Josh and I, and like we use that as quality control. We use that as product design. We're asking them always like, hey, what do you guys want to see next? What do you like? What don't you like? Um, and
Did you
then
guys
like we
create
also
that
have
group?
no, we didn't.
Oh, you didn't. Okay. Wow.
No,
Okay.
I know.
That's
So some other fans created it. We feed it, you know what I mean? Like we
sure.
definitely promote it and let people know that it's there. But it's up to I think 6 or 7 thousand people in there, and it's like
Nuts. Okay.
there's probably a post every 10 to 15 minutes, which is just crazy to us. It's so cool. It's so cool to see.
Can we talk
Yeah.
about your social media efforts? I know you have a YouTube channel, and I
Yeah.
was watching some videos there. Is that a big driver of business, or
It absolutely is. Yeah. So our social is we put out a lot of content. I'm still personally running our Instagram. So I use the Instagram as like, hey, this is the voice, the brand, and all this stuff. So what I post on Instagram, like then we're able to distill that down over the other channels.
Okay.
And so, but like our YouTube is a little bit different because like it's not photo based. Like our Instagram actually has always been really good with photos, not that great with video. Our
Okay.
YouTube is really good with video. And to me, our YouTube channel started as just a part of our big SEO hack, like our big SEO plan of like how do we just like we're looking at all of our competitors, they're kind of sleeping behind the wheel. Let's just like day one was the first contractor I ever hired was my buddy Joel from Flux, and he set up SEO. I'm talking day one. We were paying this contractor before we were paying ourselves a salary because I was like, there's this massive hole that these people are just ignoring because they're so wholesale focused. I was like, we're going to come in, and now like Montana Knife Company is ranking better than companies that have been around for 100 years. Like
Mm.
literally 100-year head start, and just focusing on the boring thing. So through that, we were writing, weekly blogs about knives, and then every blog had a video, and that video was the information. It was just like the digested video version of the blog to kind of help with, everything that Google's algorithm likes for SEO. So that's where the YouTube channel started. It started as extremely informational. And then every once in a while, one of those videos would pop off, how to sharpen a knife correctly, sharpen a knife like a master bladesmith, how to field dress a deer, how to go elk hunting, how to do this. So that's how it started. And then we started doing like the behind the scenes, like the old school, like Gary Vee days, where it's like a weekly vlog of like what's happening downstairs. We have a very, very eclectic group of people downstairs, a lot of personalities. They film really well. They love being on camera. They're a bunch of goofballs. And like that to me is like, so our weekly vlogs are like is that middle funnel. We get you in, and then you start watching our vlogs and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, these are guys just like me. And that's the nice thing about American manufacturing is like, you
Yeah.
can go have a beer, with like the guy that sharpens your knife.
Right.
So YouTube, has been amazing because we finally figured out how to do paid advertising on YouTube, and and what's crazy is like we're getting a much greater return because how good our organic content is. So they're seeing our ads and our commercials, but they're staying and subscribing because of our content. So it's something we're really proud of. It's been really working. We only just started putting like true focus on it for about the
Uh,
past year and a half, and it's one of our top 4 to 5 converting things on our exit survey, just
are,
YouTube itself.
are you guys doing short form videos also, like on
We are,
TikTok
yeah.
and Reels? Okay.
Hmm.
And of
Yeah.
all of those, would you say, like, if someone listening to this is trying to prioritize what to do, what would you prioritize?
So I get that question all the time. It's so dependent on a product. Like right now, like, some of my friends have some of these companies that are just crushing on TikTok Shop because they have a product that is in that price point
Yeah.
that you're able to go trade, to a, influencer for a commission. Like we don't have that. Like for us to send a $1,300 chef set is a big gamble.
Yeah. TikTok Shop is
You
not
know,
for me. Yeah.
yeah. So we don't even have that option. So like I can't say like there's this one specific thing. It's all based off of A, like product fit, and then B is like what you're good at. Like one of the co-founders of the company was amazing behind a camera. So Instagram was just like natural. And TikTok was not because it's like turning the camera around, and at that time it was just dances and like all that stuff. So
Yeah.
so so what I always advise people is like whatever your strongest suit is that you're able to do every day. Like if it was like that's why we have no Twitter. Like I'm horrible at writing. I'm horrible at copywriting. Like I don't want to, like so our Twitter has been ignored for the past like 5 years. It's just because it's like we don't have someone who has that, that verbatim flow just to sit there and tweet all day.
Yeah. Actually,
Hmm.
walk me through your posting schedule. So Instagram, you post every single day,
Hmm.
and like an
Yeah.
image. Okay.
Yeah. So I've posted every single day for the past 5 years. I have not missed a single day of posting on Instagram. And most days we post 2 or 3 times, depending on the content that we have or what type of drop it is and things like that. So, like that's the nice thing now is like the new algorithms. It's so favorable to just getting as much content as possible.
Sure.
Before, they used almost like hurt you. It almost used to hurt you to post twice a day because like it just had to sit in the feed and finally get seen.
Yeah.
Now it's fed to new people. So yeah.
And you're in there answering comments and everything on the Instagram as well.
I do a little of that, but we actually, it got to the point where we actually had to hire someone. So we have someone that handles comments in our DMs just to make sure that because there's a lot of, really big names that slide into our DMs and stuff like that. So we want to make sure they're getting addressed as fast as possible. And then even more importantly, like our customers are using that as a form of customer service, and then our DMs our comments are very important because we want to respond to every single one.
And then, are you guys still blogging given the changes with AI and the Google search landscape?
Yeah, I cannot take any credit. It's just pure luck. But like, yeah, we're still doing 1 to 2 blogs every single week. We're doubling down on it, and we're actually creating video series that we turn into blogs. Now, here's the wild thing that we did not see coming in 2020 when we set up this SEO program to like break down everything about every knife, every steel, every blade grind, every handle, every because like when you do the SEO thing, you do the spoke and hub thing, and it's just
Yeah.
so over the past 5 years, we have blog a week, and we're using gorgeous AI, and we had 5 years of training. We dumped that into our AI agent, and it knows our company better than anyone else. Like that's the thing. That's like I said, there's so many things that just worked out for us that so we're definitely not slowing down because and then we obviously index it with all the the chat GPTs and Gronks and stuff like that. So and they're pulling information from our website as a trusted voice.
Okay, I think this answered all my questions because I was originally I was like, okay, well, you guys are probably significantly more expensive than like a Chinese competitor, right? But
Mhm.
it sounds like you've created this community and this cult following for your knives, backed by Josh's background, and you're just killing it on like the social and community front,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the biggest thing is like we just show up every day. If I had to give any advice to like any marketers, is just like the only thing that's going to beat AI and really good paid ads is you being excited about your brand yourself.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you how many marketers I talk to who just don't care about their company. They care about their bonus at the end of the quarter. Like I care more like this is our lifestyle. This is the company we're growing. We're trying to grow it every day. Like we're taking pictures of our new building get built. Like if you're not excited about your company, why would your customers be excited? I think that's the hack in 2020, 5 and 6 and 7 is just the human element of this whole thing.
I mean, you guys are doing everything right, documenting everything, putting out tons of content. I mean, I think that's the way to go. I mean, that's how to get indexed, and that builds the
Hmm.
personality for you guys. I mean, content is like the backbone of what you guys do, right? I mean, the
Right.
drops are cool too. With the, I mean, what I like about the drops is you have scarcity like every single day. It's
Right.
every other day it seems, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, so what's it look like going forward? It seems like you guys are building a new facility or something, right? Or
Right, right. So, I mean, the building that we built now is still on Josh's property. It's literally right next door to the 2-car garage that we started on.
okay,
And the goal for this was like this building was supposed to keep us like in motion for about 5 years was our plan. 10 months into us moving into here, we started the building of the other one. So it didn't
nice.
last us that long with our growth. So our next facility is 51,000 square feet. It's going to have a full retail store. We're going to have a Black Rifle Coffee in the building itself. So it's going to be a destination right
Nice.
here in Montana. It's right off of Highway 90. And then, like I said, like the goal is to be like 100% like self-sufficient in our manufacturing. Even like all the processes that we would used to have to outsource, like heat treat, like almost every, I mean, I can only say this, like every knife company right now is, outsourcing heat treating and bevel grind and all these things to people who just do all the knives. So now it's like our goal is like, okay, let's roll the dice and start bringing all of that stuff in house and just be 100% self-sufficient. So we're self-sufficient on our marketing, the
Yeah.
D2C, our massive email list, text message list, and then we're self-sufficient on our, our own product and being able to make it and things like that.
I love it, man. Especially with all these tariffs going on, you guys are well positioned for
Yeah.
everything. And I love how you're self sufficient. You're not really depending on anyone, and so you're in full control of your own destiny. Right.
Hmm.
So, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like, if people are interested in your knives and just checking out some of your content, where should they go?
Yeah, so, just Montana Knife Company. You can Google it, MKC, Google, and just Montana Knife Company. Um, you know, check those out. Follow us on Instagram, DM us, pop in the comments if you heard it from this podcast. We're extremely accessible. You can literally DM Josh anytime. You can DM me anytime. That's our goal. Is like we want to take this back to the older times where you used to know the person who owned the business, and it's just not a board. It's just not a boardroom looking for bigger profits. Like it's us, and I think that's what people like following us is like we're figuring this out. We make
Yeah,
mistakes. We're very transparent about it, but we also have a lot of wins. So
dude, I love it, man.
yeah,
Thank you so much, Brandon. I'm so glad that Kurt introduced us.
yeah, absolutely, Steve. This has been great.